You're watching on the screen right now, and I'm going to show you two things that happened within hours of each other in the last few days. The first, a Congressional Research Service report reveals that 42 U.S. military aircraft, fighter jets, refueling planes, drones have been lost or damaged in Donald Trump's war with Iran. The estimated price tag so far $29 billion, and that number is climbing. The second, Donald Trump posted a photoshopped picture of himself literally towering over Greenland, peeking over a mountain range with the caption, "Hello Greenland." This isn't a joke. This isn't an exaggeration. This is the reality of a president who is actively managing a war in the Middle East while simultaneously posting real estate fantasies about taking over an Arctic island that belongs to a NATO ally because apparently he has nothing better to do. And the midterms are coming, so let's talk about it. Let's start with the war. President Trump's mega military mission Operation Epic Fury was launched against Iran on February the 28th. Since then, at least 42 U.S. military aircraft have been lost or damaged. That's not a typo. 42. We're talking about 4 F-15E Strike Eagle fighter jets, 1 F-35A Lightning II, 7 KC-135 Stratotanker refueling aircraft, 24 MQ-9 Reaper drones. The Pentagon's acting comptroller told the House subcommittee that the estimated cost is $29 billion just for the first few months. And get this, repair and replacement costs for damaged equipment are driving that number up every single day. Now, how is this war going for the American people? Let's look at the numbers that actually matter. Trump's overall approval rating has plunged below 40% in national support. A Reuters Ipsos poll that closed just days ago put his approval at 35%, with the Iran war driving energy costs higher. The same poll shows 17% of Americans believe the country is on the wrong track. Even among Republicans, his approval is at an all-time low, 75%, which sound high until you realize that 18% of Republicans now view him unfavorably. That's the highest level ever recorded. The Senate just passed a War Powers Resolution 50-47, with 4 Republicans joining Democrats to try to limit Trump's authority to conduct military operations against Iran. This isn't just Democrats complaining, this is Republican senators saying we have concerns. Meanwhile, Trump is on Truth Social calling Iran deal critics Democrats, rhinos, and fools. He's posting that the media's coverage of the war is virtual treason. And get this, U.S. negotiators have privately told Iranian officials to ignore Trump's social media posts, that they're just for purely domestic and media consumption, and that his position at the negotiation table is completely different. Let me repeat that. America's own negotiators are telling Iran to ignore the President of the United States because his public statements are so unserious and unhinged that they'd sabotage actual diplomacy. This is your tax dollars at work. On May the 23rd of 2026, as U.S. troops are fighting and dying in the Middle East, as $29 billion are being spent on a war that has no clear exit strategy, as the Senate is trying to rein in his war powers, Donald Trump posted this, a Photoshop image of himself towering over a Greenland village with his hand resting on a landscape captioned, "Hello Greenland." This isn't new. Trump has been obsessed with Greenland since 2019. In January 2026, he threatened 10% tariffs on Denmark and 6 other European countries, increasing to 25% until a deal was reached for the U.S. to purchase the island. He said the U.S. would acquire Greenland one way or the other. And just 2 days before his photoshopped post, Trump Jr. was in Greenland on a personal trip with Trump's representatives, and Trump called in on speakerphone to tell locals why they should join America. Greenland's prime minister has been very clear that the island is not for sale. Denmark has reiterated the same, but Trump doesn't care because this isn't about national security, although he'll give you a speech about China and Russia if you ask. This is about Donald Trump looking at a map and wanting to add a territory like it's a game of Monopoly while an actual war is happening. And here's the punchline. While he's posting about Greenland, his own negotiators are asking Iran to ignore him, while American aircraft are being being shut down, he's photoshopping himself over an Arctic island. While the midterms approach and his approval rating is in the toilet, his priorities are this. Which brings us to the question, why are his supporters still with him? I call them sheepskin and sardines in a can. In the title, let me explain what I mean. Sheepskin because they follow the shepherd no matter where he leads, no matter how thin the grass gets on the other side of the fence. Sardines in a can because they're packed in tight, mouth to mouth, breathing the same recycled air, moving as one mass and completely unaware that they're about to be opened up and consumed by forces they don't even see coming. But let's put the metaphors aside. Psychology research has actually studied this. Researchers from Western Sydney University conducted 3 studies between 2019 and 2022, asking hundreds of Trump supporters to read articles outlining allegations against him. Everything from sexual misconduct to efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Then they asked them, how do you still support him? Here's what they found. First, a majority of supporters flatly rejected the claims. They simply didn't believe them, no matter the evidence. Second, about a third said policy achievements mattered more than Trump's behavior. So even if he did, who cares, as long as the economy is good? Third, another third argued that other politicians or wealthy individuals behave similarly, so everyone's corrupt. Why hold them accountable? And in later rounds, 15% said they simply did not care about the accusations at all. 15% of people said to researchers that they don't care if the president has committed sexual assault, corruption, or illegal activities. They don't care. The researchers found a strong link between emotional discomfort and disbelief. Participants who felt unsettled after reading the allegations were more likely to dismiss them entirely. Denial wasn't a considered judgment. It was a coping mechanism. This is cognitive dissonance. Your brain feels tension when you're confronted with evidence that contradicts a deeply held belief. So it adjusts your thinking to reduce that tension, in this case by rejecting the evidence outright. The study author said she was surprised that many participants used Trump's own phrases, fake news, drain the swamp, to explain their loyalty. They weren't just denying the allegations, they were reframing reality in Trump's own words. And here's the part that should concern everyone. In the 2022 study, after the January 6 hearings, more than 60% insisted the allegations linked to those events were false. That's not skepticism. That's not doing your own research. That's a psychological firewall designed to protect an identity, not evaluate evidence. So here's the situation heading into November. Trump's overall approval is underwater. The Iran war is expensive, unpopular, and dragging on. Inflation is biting. Even his support among white voters without college degrees, his most reliable bloc, has eroded. But his grip on his core MAGA base remains unshaken. And here's the rub. Trump doesn't need 51% of Americans to win Republican primaries. He needs about 30% of the electorate, the most loyal, most activated, most motivated voters to bend the party to his will. He's purging Republicans who show disloyalty. He just ousted a string of fellow Republicans, including Senator Bill Cassidy, who voted to convict him at his impeachment trial, and Representative Thomas Massie, a frequent critic. He's handpicked loyalists are winning nominating contest. But here's the problem for Republicans. Trump's base alone isn't enough to win general elections. Republican strategists are warning that Trump's purification exercise could hurt the party's chances of retaining control over Congress. He's shrinking the party, not growing it. One strategist put it bluntly. He's shrinking the party, and yet the base doesn't see it. Or if they see it, they don't care, because their identity is wrapped up in him. Questioning Trump means questioning themselves, and cognitive dissonance says that's not allowed. So let's go back to where we started. Donald Trump is raging a war in Iran that has cost the $29 billion, cost the 42 aircraft, and cost the lives and limbs of American service members. Numbers the administration isn't even fully releasing yet. His approval rating is tanking. The Senate is trying to rein him in. The midterms are approaching, and what is he doing with his luxury time, as the title of the video put it? Posting Photoshop memes about buying Greenland. He's based. They're not asking questions. They're not demanding accountability. They're not saying, hey, maybe we should focus on the war instead of Arctic real estate fantasies. They're sheepskin. They're sardines. They're packed in tight, following the shepherd, breathing the same air, unaware that the can is about to be opened. Psychology says they'll defend him no matter what. That 15% who don't care, they're not going to suddenly start caring when the midterms roll around. The 60% who insisted the January 6 allegations were false, they're not going to suddenly believe the Iran war is a mess. So here's the question for everyone watching. Does the rest of America care? Because the base isn't changing its mind. The question is whether everyone else, independents, moderate Republicans, Democrats, has finally had enough. Whether a president who treats a war like a distraction and a country like a real estate listing is what this nation actually want to re-elect, and whether you're willing to show up in November to say otherwise. That's the conversation we should be having. Not hello Greenland, not Photoshop memes, but the actual cost of leadership and the cost of following a leader who has forgotten that he works for you. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want more truth, and let me know in the comments what would it actually take for its base to wake up, because according to science, the answer might be nothing at all.